All right, let's give everyone maybe 1 more minute to join before we start. Teresa, can you see the screen all fine?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Thijs Pinksta. I work at PEZY as Circular Product Design Lead, and today I have the honor to introduce today's webinar, where we will be presenting the Recyclability Assessment Tool, or as we call it in short, RATS. Philips and PEZY are working side by side on this project, and in a moment I'll hand over to my co-workers Sharina Lichtelen from Philips and Michiel Henning from PEZY, who will delve deeper into the tool. But there's one more person in this room I'd like to mention, and it's our fourth musketeer, Mark-Olaf Dirksen from Philips. And the four of us are extremely proud of what we've accomplished together, and this feels like, for us, a celebration, I have to say. We hope that by the end of the session, you will feel inspired and enriched by our story, and the tool, of course, and celebrate it together with us. Next slide, please. The development of the RAT has been part of the INCREASE project. So it's an EU-funded consortium of 17 partners, and they're covering together the full value chain of plastics that are used in electrical products. And through this collaboration, we are helping the EU achieve its goal of incorporating 10 million tons of recycled plastics into new products on the EU market by the end of this year. And what we see is, while progress is being made, we recognize the need to accelerate the pace, actually. Our initiative targets specific complex challenges in 5 business cases involving plastics applications. So these include flame retardants, electrostatic discharge, geometrical tolerances, aesthetics, and food safety approval. We are involved in several activities, and one of the key ones being the development of the RAT for product developers. And while there's already substantial knowledge and tools around single-use plastics, for instance, such as packaging, much remains to be explored for EEE, or as it is called, electrical and electronic equipment. And the current developments build upon two, next slide, please. They're building upon these two successful predecessors. There's our close WEEE and police, which have tackled also similar topics. However, now we are expanding our focus to explore new opportunities based on new recycling technologies like solvent-based recycling and chemical recycling. So we are asking ourselves, what gaps can these new technologies fill in the short term? And our approach is highly practical, I have to say. So focusing on providing real-world evidence and application level. And for some of these, we have successful outcomes already. So we're very happy with that. And all of the learnings will be incorporated into a booklet with guidelines for developers focused on design formed from recycling. Next slide, please. So it will be a follow-up book of the one you see over here. This one was the result of the police project, which was widely distributed and has seen success in the whole of Europe, but even also from Taiwan to New York. So we see that sharing knowledge has led to real implementations of recycled plastic, so real successes have been made. And next year, we will release the new booklet based on INCREASE, and with the RAT actually as the centerpiece. But for now, yeah, we are excited to present the beta release of the tool, and let's learn together. Enjoy the session, everyone. Sharina and Michiel, take it away.
Thank you. So thank you, Thijs, for setting the scene of this project. And as Thijs already mentioned, Michiel and I will host this webinar today. So a few words about us. I'm Sharina Lichtelijn. I'm a circular product design consultant at Philips. And what that means is that I support our businesses from toothbrushes to MRI machines in helping integrate circularity in their product design process. And I do this together with my colleague from another company, Michiel, who's sitting next to me here. And he's a product developer at PEZY, and he has a lot of experience in developing products, also with a lot of different companies because they are a design consultant. So he has a lot of insights on also the inputs and the outputs that a designer wants when assessing their products. So we have a very exciting agenda today. We will start with a bit of background about WEEE recycling to all ensure that we are on the same page and that we use the same terminology, and also to educate you a bit on how complex WEEE recycling actually is. Then I share something about the methodology, which I'm very excited that we can present to you today and share in detail what our methodology is of our tool. And then Michiel will take over and show how we turn this theory into practice in the Recyclability Assessment Tool, or the RED tool as we call it. And then, as you also have seen in the invite, we ask you to apply to become beta tester, because we have been with our face so much in this tool that we cannot honestly judge it anymore and find feedback ourselves. So we really would like to have this outside-in perspective and hear you feedback on the tool, also with experience with different types of products. And we will share the next steps, the planning, what we will do after this, and of course we will have a Q&A at the end. You are all muted, but once the Q&A starts, if you raise your hand, Teresa will help us mute you so that you can ask your questions, and the slides and recording will be shared afterwards. So what is WEEE recycling? Well, let's first start with the abbreviation. It stands for Waste Electrical and Electronic Equipment. So it's about the recycling of products that have batteries and cables. That's the kind of products that you should think of. Bit of a definition. We make a distinction between disassembly and recycling. Everyone has a bit of their own terminology, but we find it important to really separate these. So design for disassembly, what we talk about is a non-destructive process that is often done manually. It's a bit more time consuming, but the most important part is that the end goal is to repair or reuse your device. When we talk about recycling, so the topic of today, we talk about a destructive process. It's mostly automated. It really should be very fast. And the end goal is to recover the pure materials of a product. So not recover parts to reuse them as the part itself, but really to get the steel and the plastic really as pure materials again. Even though we talk about product design today, we do want to emphasize that there are more critical enablers for recycling. So reverse logistics, for example, is also very important. The products need to go to the right place. And something called divestment, which is also a separate work stream in INCREACE, where people look at how consumers separate from their products and how they do the disposal. So topic of today's product design, but we definitely do not want to claim that that's the only important topic of recycling. The three main phases of recycling are collection, pre-processing, where the products are shredded and sorted in different material types, and end processing, where the materials are further cleaned and melted into new materials to be reused. Each of these phases have loss, but what we are looking at in our assessment tool is only the second and the third step. So again, collection, it's not that it's not important, but we are focusing on the second and the third step because that's the part that's influenced by product design. The first one, collection, I said it's out of scope, but it's not fully true. Sometimes, the collection also influences the design guidance, so that's when we try to include it. To give you an example also of how extremely complex this recycling process is. Collection and recycling differs per product type. As we said, we are focused on e-waste. What we see is that packaging collectors, they do not recycle ABS, and e-waste collectors, they do recycle ABS. That has to do with the fact that in packaging, there's not so much ABS, so for them, it's not financially interesting to recover that. And for e-waste, there is a lot of ABS. So we cannot simply give one guideline on do not use ABS, yes or no, for recycling. We really have to be specific to what kind of products we have. So in that sense, we do include the collection. But most important, the most interesting part for our tool, and also where the complexity is in the pre-processing. So a bit of background, what happens at pre-processing. The products are manually dismantled, they are shredded, and they are sorted. So per step, here is the manual dismantling. What happens is that people take out the hazardous and polluting substances. And a very important part is the battery, right? Because we see all these videos sometimes in the news that recyclers catch fire, and that's really not something that you want, of course. So it's very important to get the battery out. What you see in this video is that someone is trying to get the battery out of the device, but it really takes a long time. It's very time consuming. The battery is hard to find. In this case, they are using a screwdriver. He's not really screwing screws with a screwdriver, but we also see a lot that hammers are being used. So that's really a complex and time consuming process. Then we go to shredding. I think that's an easy one to understand. The product is just shredded to go into smaller parts, and that is for the later phases where we're trying to sort the materials in pure streams. So the sorting, there are many different ways the sorting can happen. I'm definitely not going to explain all of them, but to just show you a bit this wide variety and the advanced technologies that recyclers use to get these pure materials. Some obvious ones are magnets, there's zinc floating tanks, eddy current, and near separation are a few of them. The post-processing, what happens there, you see it in the images. For metals, they are melted in smelters. And for plastics, we know there are even further shredded, sorted, and pelleted and compounded. And then we have our new pure materials that we can reuse again in new products. This was a very quick summary. So what we can recommend, we have these two sources that we think are really great. On the left, we have I really like it. It's a collaboration between the TU Delft and MyRec. MyRec is a recycler here in Eindhoven, who is also in the INCREACE consortium. And they made a sort of Google Maps tour through their facilities with text fields explaining what they are doing there. And we have been at MyRec, and I think it's a really nice way for you, if you cannot visit personally, to get an idea of what happens at these facilities. I think for me, at least personally, it really helped me provide good guidance for recyclers on what to do and what not to do. And then there's also this video of MGG. As I said, the slides will be shared later, so then you can click on the link. Then the methodology. Very excited that we can share that finally with you today, and also very happy to hear your thoughts on it and your feedback if you have any. So this is really the theory behind the assessment tool. That's of course, very important when you start making a tool, that you first think of how are we actually going to assess the recyclability of the product. Some background first. So it was already in 2011 that Philips started the first activities on improving products for recyclability. I was not there in Philips yet, but Mark Olof, my colleague, was there and has been doing these activities for a year and has a lot of knowledge. It was in 2021 that Thijs already mentioned in the POLY-CE product, where this knowledge was collected and added to, and PEZY did a lot of nice efforts to get this into this super nice booklet, the Design for and Design from Recycling booklet, which is, by the way, also available freely online as a PDF. So there's definitely a source, if you do not already know it, to look into. Then in 2022-2023, Philips made a mandatory recyclability requirement for our products. And if you have a requirement, you also need a way to assess in the end if you met the requirement, yes or no. So this was also where we made our first automated recyclability assessment tool that was deployed and used within Philips. But when things really got up to speed and really were a lot of changes was in 2024. In INCREASE, we started updating this tool and making it more suited for more products. We visited recyclers again. We destroyed a lot of products. We learned a lot. We talked to other companies, and we got a lot of feedback from them as well. So now that we have that, we could make the tool. Before making the tool, we were very specific and making clear what the purpose of our tool was. There are many different ways to assess recyclability. You could, for example, take guidelines and say, do you comply or do you not comply, and count for how many you comply and give a score 8 out of 10. That can be a perfectly fine way to score recyclability. You could also give your product to a recycler and have them shred it and let them give a report to you on how they think you score. What you could also do is, for example, say the average recyclability of a shaver is 70% and the average recyclability of a keyboard is 20%. And you can look at a whole company or even a country if you have a lot of time, and see what the average recyclability of your company of country is. That could all be ways to assess the recyclability, but that was not the kind of way we wanted to assess recyclability. And we wrote that down very specifically also for you to be clear what we made this tool for. So what we wrote down here, the purpose of the INCREACE Recyclability Assessment Tool is to be a tool that accurately scores the recyclability rate of a category 5 WEEE product. So category 5 WEEE product is the small household appliances as a weight percentage. And then very important to us is that the tool is easy to use, that it can be independently used by designers without any recycling knowledge. So we do not want to need Mark Olof, Michiel, Thijs, or I to be there every way sitting next to the designer to help them. It's really meant for them to be able to use it as well. Only using available data in a reasonable amount of time. And this last part is also very important. We want it to result in redesign guidance specific to that product. So the example that I gave earlier, where you say we have an average recyclability of 70% for shavers and 20% for keyboards. If you go to that shaver, then it doesn't provide you with any information on how you can improve the recyclability of the shaver specifically. So we wanted a tool that does do that. Where do you start? I think if there is people here online that work with recyclability, they likely know the EN 4555 standards. That standard provides guidance on how you can assess recyclability. Even though it's a great standard, it did not quite suit the purpose that we had. So we felt it was not suited for providing this redesign guidance specific for the product, and also not for only requesting data that's available to the average designer. So what we did within Philips, we made a new methodology, and in INCREASE, we took that methodology as basis again and improved it for a broader product range, to improve data, focus on accuracy, and simplification as well. So yeah, we made it more accurate, but we also made some steps to make it more simple, so that this green bulb that you see here is pushed to the left top corner. So what's the methodology? It's very simple. Recyclability rate is recyclable mass divided by total made times 100%. If we make it a bit more complex, this is also the formula that you see in the EN 4555. We have the mass of the part K multiplied by the recyclability factor of part K. And let's say we have a plastic piece, weighs 100 grams. The recyclability factor of that plastic piece is 70%. Then we know 70 grams is recyclable. We sum the whole to get the recyclable mass, and we divide it by the total times 100%. So this yellow guy here is the $1 million question, right? What is the recyclability factor of part K? And for that, we made the following formula. We said the recyclability factor of part K is 1, that's 100%, minus all the reasons you can lose part of the material in the recycling process. So the reasons why you could lose material in the recycling process, we defined 4 key areas. So one is the material type itself, could be a reason that it's not recycled. We already mentioned ABS, that's plastic that's being recycled by recyclers. But there's a lot of plastics that are also not being recycled. The second one is additives and fillers. Third one is coatings and lacquering. And the fourth one is connections, as you likely all know, can also hinder the recycling process. There's a lot of detail here that I won't share with you today, not because I don't want to. I would love to tell you everything, but we only have an hour. So I'm limited to only giving you a bit insight in each of these 4. So material type, we blurred the numbers because we cannot yet quite share that with you, but you can see in the colors a bit of an indication what we filled in there. So ABS is something that's recyclable. We know certain ceramics, for example, are not. Magnetic metal is. And we also defined electric components as a module, such as a PCBA and a motor, where we really do not want you to determine what kind of materials exactly are in the PCBA. We just want you to fill in PCBA and the weight. And we made a estimation in collaboration with many recyclers on what the average recyclability rate is of a PCBA. As you see, there's a user override column. We tried our best to make an average, but if you have a specific product and you know of your product the exact recyclability weight of a PCBA, we want you to be able to override that just to make it as accurate as possible for your PCBA. Maybe you're in another country and you know in that country, yeah, it's recycled in a different way. That also gives you the opportunity to change these numbers. Then additives and fillers. We also did not put the final result of the tool here yet, but I added some screenshots of the POLY-CA guideline. I think most of you likely know that additives and fillers like BFRs are really a no-go. That's not something that we want in our products. Glass fiber filled plastics also really hinder recyclability. And overall, we would say that additives, they really reduce the purity of the plastic streams, right? So that's something that we preferably don't have. Then coatings and lacquerings. There's 2 aspects to coating. One is the coating hindering recycling, yes or no? And then does it hinder recycling? How much of the part is coated? Because if there's a small image on the part, then we do not want to count that as 100% lost. So that's also something that we put in this theory, the methodology behind the assessment tool. Then the last one, very complex one, a lot of images here on the screen. The connection types, whether connection results in loss, yes or no, is dependent on 3 key factors. So the connection type itself, if you have a snap fit, that's good. If it's shredded, that just falls apart, a perfect separation. But if you have glue, that's not something that you want. So if 2 different materials are glued together, it will not properly separate, and we count that as a bad connection. Then secondly, if you have this bad connection, we ask you about what we call the hierarchy. So it depends what materials are connected to each other to determine if it's recycled, yes or no. So that's how complex recycling is. If you have a piece of metal and for some reason that's glued to a piece of plastic, then a magnet picks it up and it goes to the metal fraction. The metal is still recovered, but the plastic is not. So what we say, if in the tool we ask, do you have a metal and a plastic, is that connected? Then we count the metal as gained and the plastic as lost. And then lastly, we have the affected area. Let's say you have a plastic piece that's this big and only the small end has some glue on it. We also do not want to count that plastic part as fully lost. So that's also something that we are looking at in our methodology. So that was the theory. Yeah, very curious to hear what you all think about this methodology and how we approach this. But I will now also give the word to Michiel to share with you how we turn this theoretical methodology into a useful tool.
Yes, thank you. So now we will introduce the tool that we built from all this knowledge. As Sharina said, what we found important was that it's actually usable for developers, designers, or people that are responsible for recyclability or for environment friendliness in the company. And a tool can be very good, but if you need 3 days to use it, then you may not use it at all, and then it's not really good. So we tried our best to make it very accessible for a broad audience of developers. Maybe many of you would be in that target group also. And we try to save as much time as possible by graying out entries that are not really relevant for the end result. So we'll take you through what it has become. The core of the tool is an Excel tab, which features 3 parts. And basically all the theory that we mentioned so far, all the knowledge, we try to automate into an assessment. So you fill in all the information in the first part about your product. And then first you get a very factual result for every part, what happens to it after shredding and sorting. And then there's a report on the part level that gives you insights on how product level gives you insights in how your product is doing and why it's doing the way it's doing. So let's say we are a company and we make these cameras and we want to know something about recyclability. We want to do well and we want to know where we stand. Then what do we know? The product has a lot of characteristics. We probably know a lot about the materials it's made of. We can easily find out the weights of the parts. But there's a lot of things at play, especially connections, as Sharina said, have a lot of influence. So how can I get from this product to an actual judgment about the recyclability? So how we would do that is we disassemble the product because we need information about parts. And if it's a real product, that can be an actual disassembly, as you see here, very physical. And if it's an advanced concept, it can also be, the information can also be extracted from CAD, for example. And what we need to do is make a list of all the parts. And with a part here, we mean preferably a monomaterial part, because every material has their own future after shredding. So then all the part information is entered into a big list of parts, which often we call the bill of materials. And the first part are the essential characteristics, and that are number, weight, material, and submaterial. And if you fill this in for every part of your product, you already get a result. It's not a very accurate result yet, but if you need something fast to just compare several concepts, for example, or products, you get a general idea of what the materials will do. If you continue and take a bit more time, you will be asked to fill in additives, coating, and connections. And there, well, a lot of accuracy is increased to get to well, a detailed result. And as you can see, there's a lot of gray area where the tool basically automatically knows that the entry will not have effect. Because, for example, a bad plastic which will never be recycled, it doesn't matter if it's connected to everything, because whether it's connected or not, it will never be recycled. So it's meant to be filled in quite fast. And then I wanted to say a bit more about connections, why they are so important. Several studies have been done into how well some connections or how bad they separate, and we also did some studies ourselves by just shredding products and then finding all the shreds and seeing how they separated and how they didn't. Oh, in this box on the right, you can see from one product a whole lot of clusters of materials where different fractions are actually still connected together even when it's a shred. So in the sorting process, every one of these clusters will end up in one place, probably leading to some loss. And the tool basically mimics that process by all the rules and the knowledge we put into it. So that's why filling in the connections is rather significant. And the way that it's done is for every part, the tool asks for the part to which it's connected. A part can have multiple connections, up to 5. And then also the connection type and also the amount of influence the connection has on the part. And that's enough information for the tool to automatically make a prediction of which percentage of every part will be likely recycled or not. Now I'm explaining this, of course, but when you get the tool, there's also a lot of instructions we wanted to give, and we realized with that, and we also experienced that very often instructions are ignored, however well they are made. And that's why we put them in levels. This is the deep level where there's a couple of annexes which have the elaborate information about topics like the hierarchy and connections and so on. They can be found by those who look for them. Then there's like a summary guide in 3 steps, making it a bit easier to very quickly understand how do I use this tool, what's the process. And it has a lot of references to the deeper level. And for those of you who still don't go into that, there's also some visual guide notes right inside the bill of material section, which you, well, almost can't avoid. So if you mouse over any column, there will be a very short visual explanation of what is expected. So hopefully this will help the users to go far and fill in the tool the way it's intended. So after filling in all the input, you can see for every part where it goes. The fractions here are actually the fractions where that waste processors use. They try to separate the waste into these fractions so that they can basically sell them or transport them to further processors. So we basically took the recycling process into this tool, and we predict for every part where it will go. And on top of that factual per part analysis, there's also a product level report, which is automatically filled in by entering all the data. And well, it's meant to give a very quick insight in how does this product do. If you look at it for 2 seconds, you already have some impression, especially if you compare a couple of products, or you want to compare a product to the next generation or to a competitor or to another concept. And it's quite easy to export into a document. It consists of a general part that gives you the overall score about the product. And then there's a part that actually gives a top 10 of the parts in the product that are responsible for the most loss. So lack of recycling. And often if you want to redesign a product to make it more recyclable, some of these parts will be the likely things that you should pay attention to if you want to raise the percentage. And then there's this heat map, which shows both the fractions and in how much they are present in your products, and also within the fractions what's happening and which fractions give a better score and a worse score. So all that is basically generated by just entering the complete bill of materials. So that completes the circle. And if you go back to the camera product example, the company could now, with this tool, analyze their own products and get a full picture of where they stand. And ideally, that will be used in repetition, because, of course, if you assess products over time, you get an idea of what the percentage actually means, and if a percentage is good or bad, or if there's room for improvement. And hopefully this will become a way to get more understanding about what is a good recyclability in a certain product group or for a certain company. And of course, the recycling world will also keep giving us information and keep evolving and trying to do better, trying to recycle plastics that at this point are not recyclable yet. So hopefully all these things will stay connected and improve each other. So we've, of course, been very excited in what happens if we use this tool. So if we've done a lot of testing. We also tested some products by shredding them and also disassembling them, comparing the results, and thereby also gaining more understanding and fine-tuning the settings of the tool. And also for our clients, we try to make some assessments and see what happens, and also see how they what happens when they get the results, what the results mean to them, and how it can be of value to them. And at this point, we feel like we're ready to stop testing inside our companies and start testing outside in the world with you. So that's why we have this invitation. We would like to share the tool with people who will test it in the coming time, preferably on their own products, which they know a lot about and they have access to. And of course, we're trying to get feedback and even improve the tool further and learn what's the value of the different parts, and well, if we can do things better. And you can all apply if you want to be involved. And well, I'm not going to read all this, but we will send you an invitation. And we're excited what will happen. So that's what we're going to do. Also, of course, we're never done improving. So we have a lot of ideas about features and also about more information we still need to, or we want to have more research on, or more detailed recyclability rates, for example. And we are going to release the final tool next year when the INCREASE project ends. And the booklet is also about to be released next year, which will feature a lot of information about recycling in general, but also definitely about this tool and the method. So I think that's our story. And thank you very much for listening to it. And we will have time for questions.
Yeah, thank you. I think, Teresa, you can stop the recording now.